Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar and spending a part of your workday with us. My name is Susie Ratsavong, and I am the Communications Director at Mindstream Analytics. Today's webinar is moving from MaxL to EPM Automate for Oracle PBCS. Before we start, just a few housekeeping items. To confirm that you can all hear me, please click on the Raise Your Hand button now. Great. On the right side of your screen, you will see a Questions tab. At any time during the webinar, please enter any questions that you might have in that box. We will address all questions at the end of the webinar in the order the questions are received. Finally, for your information, this webinar will be recorded and made available to you afterward. In addition, I'd like to, of course, give you a quick overview about us. Mindstream Analytics, headquartered in Boston, is a leading consulting and managed services provider focused on helping companies solve complex data challenges, improve business analytics, and optimize your business performance. Our experienced consultants and professionals are here to help you align your business and technology needs with ease. Today, you'll have the treat of hearing from Phil Sable, manager in the planning and analysis team. Phil, take it away.
Hello everyone, and again, thank you for joining us. Just to quickly go over the agenda today, we'll go through a quick introduction of myself. We'll go over the topics we're going to cover today. We'll move on to MaxL to automate. We'll do a quick summary, and then we'll handle some questions. My name is Phil Sable, again, and I have about 20 years of Essbase BI experience, 15 years working with Hyperion planning. I'm certified in Hyperion planning and Essbase. Today we'll cover what is EPM Automate. We'll go over why you need to use EPM Automate. We'll review some of the tasks that are commonly used by this tool. Then we're actually going to go in and create a script and run a script. We'll do a quick live demo, and then we'll do a summary of what we've covered today. So, what is EPM Automate? First of all, it shouldn't be confused with EPMA. EPM Automate is a utility that comes with the new Oracle Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service offering. It uses secure HTTP connections to communicate with the Planning Budget Cloud Service. The utility enables administrators to perform various tasks in a remote fashion. Administrators can create scripts that are capable of completing a wide array of tasks and automate them using a Windows scheduler. Some of the tasks that are commonly used or performed with EPM Automate would be to import and export metadata and data, refresh applications, run various business rules on data, copying data from one database to another, uploading and managing files into the service instance, running data management batch rules, and exporting and importing applications and artifact snapshots. This is a screenshot of the architecture. EPM Automate sits between the on-premise data sources and the planning cloud. This EPM Automate can work against various data sources, including PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, and various other systems. So, why do we need to use EPM Automate? In response to companies looking for more decentralized services and less IT overhead, Oracle has launched the Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service. PBCS is a hosted version of Hyperion Planning and Data Management Integration, FDMEE tools, with a particular focus on a completely online-based interface. When you move to PBCS, you no longer have direct access to the Essbase server's operating system. And without that access, you also lose access to the tool that is commonly used to automate a wide variety of administrative tasks, and that tool is MaxL. To address this, Oracle has developed a new utility, EPM Automate. You'll notice that this list is very similar to the list of tasks that are generally done through EPM Automate. We've used MaxL in the past to import and export data, to manipulate dimensions, refresh applications, run rules, create backups, and update variables. Very similar list of tasks. We're going to go over how you would create an EPM Automate script and actually launch one and run a live demo. The first thing that needs to be done is you need to install EPM Automate. This can be launched from the help install of your PBCS instance. EPM Automate drops an exe file on your local drive. Running the exe will create, if you take the defaults, a folder called EPM Automate and a bin folder where it drops the EPM Automate batch file. To run EPM Automate, you simply double-click on it and a command line window opens up. At any time, if you need help with different command references and to see what exactly EPM Automate can do, you can type in EPM Automate help. And it opens up Oracle's Enterprise Performance Management Cloud documentation. To log in, if you need to know what parameters go with the login information, you simply type in EPM Automate login help, and it will give you a list of the different parameters that are necessary to log on to EPM Automate. Those parameters include the username, the password, the URL, and the identity domain parameters. This is an example of a logon command. Once you're logged in, you receive a message, successful login is displayed from the EPM Automate. Like MaxL, this utility can be called from a batch file. This allows you to do lights out automation using any common Windows scheduler. Oracle PBCS has the concept of an inbox outbox. All files that are uploaded to PBCS using the EPM Automate utility get loaded to the inbox outbox folder. There is a new second interface delivered with PBCS called the simplified interface. Not to worry, the standard interface is still available if you prefer. However, the inbox outbox folder can only be accessed through the simplified interface. To go to the simplified interface, you navigate to Administration, Planning, and Budgeting Service, and then click on Simplified Interface. From the simplified interface, you click on Console Options to see the Inbox Outbox folder. Before you use EPM Automate to do certain tasks, you need to set up jobs. There are import and export jobs. You save those jobs off, and then EPM Automate uses those to refers to those jobs to carry out the import-export operations that are contained within them. To set up an import job from the console, you click on Actions, Import Data. If it's an export, you click Export Data. On the Import Data page, click Create. You enter in whether the data is going to be picked up out of the inbox or a local drive, whether the information in the data source is Essbase formatted or planning formatted. I'll go over what those look like shortly. The plan type you'd like to load to, and finally the data file that you're loading. Once you hit save, you'll be redirected to the console, which will now show you the job you just created. Click Close. If you need to delete to recreate, you simply click on the icon and then click Delete. To set up an import job from the simplified interface, navigate to the console and then select the Dimensions tab. From the simplified interface, we're at the Dimensions tab. Then from the Dimensions tab, click Import. To create an export job, you would click Export. Next, click on Create. Select the location of the planning inbox, specify the import file name, select the file type and the delimiter, and you can also select whether or not you want members cleared during the load. Click Save as Job, provide the name for the job, and then click Save. then click OK. All right, setting up an EPMA Automate batch file. This is an example that I have set up with 2 batch files to load FX rates. The first batch file, login.bat, contains login information, password, URL, and identity domain that are necessary in order to log on to EPM Automate. The logon bat will pass these parameters to a second batch file, loadbudfxrates.bat, which contains the EPM Automate commands. The contents of the login bat file are below. You'll see that the login ID is set to my name, the password, the URL, your domain, and then a call to the location of the batch file that loads the rates. This is a copy of the batch file that actually loads the rates. Here, you'll see the first line logs us in, passing in the login ID, the password, the URL, and domain. At this point, we're going to go out and we're going to delete the old metadata file that's in the inbox, and we're going to upload the new metadata file that was recently provided. Next, we'll call on the account metadata load job that we created, which will upload the data into the inbox. Next, it will load the data into Hyperion Planning, and finally refresh the cube. Once the cube's ready for loading, we delete the old FX rates file and we upload the new FX rates file. We import that data into the application using the loadbud FX rate job. Finally, we'll run a business rule called currency against plan type net inc to give us our currency conversions. Finally, we log out of the system. All right, one of the common things that I'm asked whenever we're doing MaxL scripts is about encryption. Leaving usernames and passwords around is generally not a good idea. Without encryption, the username and password can be accessed from the login bat file. When the login bat file is launched, the username and password are also displayed in the command line window. Common security concern with many customers. To address this, Oracle's developed a mechanism that encrypts the password. It uses advanced encryption standard to encrypt your password. The encryption process stores the password in a password file. This password file is then referenced in the login. Encrypting your password is a one-time process. To encrypt your password, you simply type in EPM Automate, encrypt, the password that you want encrypted, and my key. Then you give it a location where you would like your password file stored. The first line here shows an unencrypted login, the username and password, which are both exposed, the URL and identity domain, and the encrypted login references the password file with the full path. All right, I'd like to go ahead and launch a live demo here. First thing we do is open up our application. This takes us to the PBCS console. From this console, you can launch your planning instances. Here you'll notice that we have a test instance. We also have a production instance below, as well as enterprise reporting cloud service. From here, you can launch your service, get details on the service, and do other tasks, setting up users and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and launch the planning service. This opens up Workspace. This may take a second or two, as this is the first time it's been open today. Well, while this is loading, I'd like to go ahead and mention that we are going to be at Collaborate this year, and we'll be demoing the application that we're actually going through today. We're in booth 1446. So from Workspace, you can launch the application in your standard interface, or you can launch the simplified interface. You also have various admin tutorials here, a demo to watch, as well as documentation. You also launch your admin tools and various other tools from this interface. So we'll click on the simplified interface to open up this interface. And as you can see, it's much different than the standard interface. From here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch the console and go over the tasks that I showed you in the slides. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to navigate to the inbox outbox and show you the files that are uploaded here currently. This is the old FX rate file, the metadata file, and some actual files that we use for other loading. You can also click on the Import Data tab, and this will bring up the job that was created for importing data. Let's see, we have two jobs here. We have the FX rate job that I showed you in the slide deck. By double-clicking on it, you get the details. Here, we're telling it that it's in the planning inbox, that the source type is a planning file, that it's comma delimited, and the name of the file. This file is the file that we're going to load. The top section here is the actual file we're loading today. It is in a planning format. The planning format differs from the Essbase format in that the point of view is referenced toward the end of the file. You'll notice that there's a quote mark in front of FY16 and an ending quote mark after FX rates. All these numbers are part of the point of view, and the final column represents the plan type that you'd like to load to. The second set of data here is a standard Essbase load file that many of you, I'm sure, are used to seeing if you've worked with Essbase before. Either of these formats can be loaded into Hyperion Planning. All right, next we'll take a look at the metadata file, or the metadata import job that we had created. We'll double click on that to get the details. And you'll see that we're loading up the metadata underscore account CSV file. It's comma delimited, and we're not choosing to clear any members during our load. Next, we'll go over to plans. Here's where you open up the forms that you're interested in. So we're going to go ahead and open up the FX rate form and see that there's no data loaded. It is currently empty. So now we're going to go out and we're going to launch our batch file and load data to the system. To do that, we navigate to batch file folder, which is Oracle, EPM Automate, bin. Simply launch the bat file from there by double clicking. Next, you enter in the path to your login.bat file and hit enter. The first thing it does is launch your login.bat, and you'll notice here that it's referencing my password file instead of my actual password. Once the login is successful, it begins to delete the first file, uploads the new file. With each successive call, it gives you a status. You can also add error trapping and any other fancy stuff that you want to do in DOS to give you more information on the amount of time it's processed, and various other information can be built right into the script. So the upload completed successfully. The import of the metadata has finished, and now it's out doing the planning refresh. Once the refresh is complete, it deletes the old FX rates file, uploads the new FX rate file, and it's currently going through and loading the data to Hyperion Planning. Once the import's complete, it calculates the FX rates, running the currency business rule. And once the rule has successfully run, it logs itself out. Next, we'll go back into the empty form and we'll refresh this form. And you see that now our new FX rates have been loaded. This can be set up to be done in an entirely lights out fashion. So your new rates can be loaded on a regular basis, daily, weekly, however often you would like. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and close out the application. Earlier, I was discussing some of the error trapping and so forth that you could do inside of EPM Automate. Some of the examples I have here, you can put error checking in, go looking for error level 1, and then down below for each of the various errors, you can set it up so that you'll know exactly at what point the file failed. I'd like to take a look also at and compare a few of the EPM Automate calls compared to what you would do in MaxL. In order to run a business rule in MaxL, you would have all of these commands. You would unload the database, you would disable your connections, then you would finally execute your command. In EPM Automate, you simply have two commands. You're going to do your login, and then you're going to pass the EPM Automate, the name of the business rule, along with the plan type that you would like to launch it against. All right. Well, today we've covered, what EPM Automate is, why we need to use it. If we're moving to the cloud service, it's absolutely necessary if we want to do any automation at all. We've learned some of the most commonly automated tasks that can be done through EPM Automate. We've learned how to automate these tasks using creating and using EPM Automate scripts. I'd like to take any questions now.
Thanks, Phil, and thank you all for attending today. We'll now address questions from the question box as we receive them. While I wait for your questions, I want to remind you that we are planning many upcoming webinars on topics like these: EPM dashboarding tools, more PBCS, data integration strategies, enterprise performance reporting cloud service, and more. You can keep an eye out for those emails in your inbox and find it on our website. Next month is EPM dashboarding tools. In addition, we'll be at upcoming events like Collaborate in Vegas and Kscope in Chicago. If you're interested in attending, please contact me at marketing@mindstreamanalytics.com or keep an eye out for those invitations in your inbox. Here's a question. What scheduling utility do you use to run your BATs?
You can use any common Windows or common scheduler, including Windows Scheduler.
Here's another question. Are there any tasks that are unique to MaxL, something you can do in MaxL but not in EPM Automate?
There certainly are. EPM Automate is a pared down version of MaxL. You certainly can't do any tasks that manipulate the Essbase database because that is not on premise. You can't change config settings and various things like that, things that would affect the actual application itself. If you're interested in a complete list of the tasks, again, you can simply launch EPM Automate and select EPM Automate Help, and it'll give you a complete list of commands available.
How about the reverse while we're at it? Something EPM Automate can do that MaxL can't?
Load to the cloud. Honestly, the complete list I'm not quite sure of, but in anything that has to do with trying to get to PBCS, MaxL will not work.
Are you able to reference server variables from within the EPM Automate scripts? Example for
Yes.
data load, specify amount to be cleared and loaded versus hard coding.
Yes, you can.
I notice you signed on as yourself. Can you have a generic ID that you can sign on to so that everyone who does these jobs can share the same inbox and outbox?
Yes, you certainly can. You would simply go into the console, create a new user, give it the rights necessary, and then, of course, you would encrypt that password and you could share it throughout the enterprise.
What is the preferred browser?
I would say IE. Chrome is not supported, but however, Firefox does work.
Is there a difference in the format between a planning and Essbase load file?
Yes, there are. I showed the file a second ago, and I will go over that one more time. The Essbase load file uses the standard format where each of your dimensions is represented in a column, your periods on the end along with your values, and the planning load file has to have a point of view at the end of your data.
Do you have to move the file to the planning inbox before importing to the application, or can you take it directly from the file system?
It has to be imported into, well, you can take it from the file system if you set it up that way. You'll notice when I created the job, there was a radio button to select whether it is a local file or from the inbox. It can be picked up from a shared directory.
We have a large environment. Is there any way to install EPM Automate on-premise so that we can start getting users used to the tool before we migrate to the cloud?
Yes, EPM Automate is installed locally on-premise. You can install it on a local server. You can install it right on your desktop. You can share an instance or you can have your own.
I'll give it one more minute for any additional questions. In the meantime, I just want to let everyone know that we offer PBCS as Planning Extreme. That is our PBCS offering, enabling organizations of all sizes to quickly adopt world-class planning applications with no CapEx infrastructure investments, flexible deployment options, and virtually no learning curve. And maybe you'll get to spend more time with folks like Phil. And it looks like we're all out of questions. Thank you everyone for attending today. We will be sending an email with a link to the video as well as an opportunity to retrieve the slides from today. If you have any questions or problems regarding that in the next week, or you're ready to talk about cloud in your organization, you can reach me at marketing@mindstreamanalytics.com. If you have any other questions that you have another eureka moment, go ahead and reach out to me at marketing@mindstreamanalytics.com. Thanks everyone and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at tsable@mindstream.com.
Thanks, Phil.